Hey there, welcome back friends. In our last video we have created this small little application where inside the servlet we haven't added any code. Now for example, we navigate to the base URL, then the home page will get loaded, and if we try to navigate to some other URL, any URL, then definitely the error page will get loaded. Everything is working properly. Now moving forward, let us try to handle the scenarios based on the URL. So first of all, we will request a parameter. So in here, we will first of all create a string variable. The name of the string variable would be page, and we will initialize this using a parameter. So in here, we will request a parameter, request dot get parameter, and the name of the parameter would be again page. Now moving forward, we will add a switch case based on this variable page. But before that, let us also add in a yet another step. And this step would be converting the page to lowercase. Here we go. Now let us add in a switch. Switch would be based on page. And the first case would be where the text is home. And in this case, we will forward the request to our index page. So in here, let us again request the dispatcher, and argument would be index.jsp, and we will forward the request now. We will forward the request and response objects. All right, so this looks good to me. And now we will also apply the break in here. Even though the break is optional in here, we are forwarding the request. So anyway, the request would be forwarded and the control will go to the next page. Nevertheless, the next case would be list users. Now list users is something which we will create. This page is not available to us yet. But again, let me copy this line of code and paste it in here, and the page name would be list users.jsp. All right, and we will now again add a default case as well. And in case of default case, again we will forward the request to the error page. That would be cool enough, right? So it would be like error.jsp. All right, let me format things a little. All right, so this looks good to me. Now moving forward, let us also update the header. So we will navigate to include, and let us update our navigation bar. And if we check, here is the part where we are dealing with the navigations, right? So we will keep the navigation very simple. Let us get rid of all the non-required links. All right, so we will keep two links. First link would be for our home page, and the second link would be for our list user link. So let me update list user title in here. Let me add a couple of enters in here. And now moving forward, let us quickly try to generate the links. Now the link would be based on this URL pattern /home, and the value of the page parameter would be home or list users. So that's something which we know. So let us generate the URLs. First of all, we need to get the base URL. In order to do that, we will make use of what? We will make use of this particular part. This is nothing but the expression language, and using the expression language we are simply getting the context path for the page. Then we are making use of this particular /home URL pattern, and then we are giving the value for page attribute, which is list user. Similarly, we can do the same for the home page as well. So let me add in home in here, which is the URL pattern of the servlet. Then page is the parameter, and value would be home. All right, cool stuff. Let me copy this part real quick, and we will do the same in here. Now this link is nothing but link for our logo in our page. Now let me quickly run this application, and here is the output. Let us check the links. All right, all right, all right. So everything is working properly. Now moving forward, let us navigate to our servlet. Here is our servlet, and now when we are like forwarding the request to this particular file list users, we need to also pass on some data, and the data would be nothing but the list of users. Now how to connect with the database, how to retrieve the information is something which we have already seen in our last video. So let us navigate to our last project. which is testing the connection. In fact, the project is last to last. And let me open up this servlet, and here is the process of initializing the connection and then connecting with the database. Now this is cool stuff, but we are doing all of these stuff directly on our servlet. Now this particular thing is not recommended. We will follow the MVC pattern now. So in here, the model would be handling our database related stuff, whereas the views are already with us. The JSP pages are nothing but views for us. Error, index, all of these pages are our view pages. And finally, we would be also handling the business logic in our controller. So controller is again with us. So what we will do is we will copy these piece of code, and we will close this demo.java file. We will expand this in order to reduce confusion. And here is the project listing data on web page. We have the view files, we have the controller. Now let us create the model. So in order to create the model, I will create a package first, and we will give the name as org.steadyaz.model. We will click on finish, and inside this model we will create a yet another class. Now this time we won't create a servlet, this would be a class. So let us create a class. The name of the class would be users model. Now usually the naming convention which I follow is the name of the database table and then model. Alright, so let us click on finish. Now we have this particular class with us, and now in here we would be creating a very simple, easy to understand method, and the name of the method would be list users. And inside this method we will paste on the content. Now friends, in here we are simply like displaying the information, right? Let me expand this. We are simply displaying the information, but in here what we will do, we will create a list of users. Now this list of users would be based on a entity class. So again we need to do something in here. So we will type in list, and the list would be based on user. All right, now definitely we will like fix this piece of code in some time. As of now, let us live with it. And now let us also create this particular class user. All right, now the package of this particular class would be not model, it would be entity. This would be an entity class. Let us click on finish. Now friends, what is a entity class? A entity class is a class which depicts the database table. So in here, if I open up a workbench real quick, then inside this users table there are 3 columns: users ID, username and email. If I show you what are the contents inside this table, then it would be user ID, username and email, which is fantastic. Now users ID would be an int entity, whereas username and email would be string. So let us quickly create variables for these columns. So first would be private int users underscore ID. Second would be username and the type would be string. And finally we will have a yet another variable by the name of email. Now friends, whenever we deal with entity class, make sure that the name of the column and the name of the variables are exactly same. So that's a very good thing. Alright, so now I will right click, navigate to source and generate the getters and setters for the theme. We would require getters and setters. And let us also create the parameterized constructor. Alright, so this is good. We have added the getters and the setters. We have created an entity class. Fantastic. Now moving forward, we need to update this users model class. We will make some modification, and now definitely the length of the video is pretty high. So we will continue this modification and displaying the information on the web page in our next video. Alright, so this is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.